Zach, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to interview you right now.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
ClioCon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just so it's number 13?
This is number 13.
Okay, 13, okay. There's one place that when you go to, and I see it on Instagram, it makes me happy. What is your happy place?
The top of Quarry Rock, which is in Deep Cove, and it's my happy place. Like
Totally.
Deep Cove is a stunning, beautiful place, and that's one of my favorite runs to do. And
How long is that run?
that is about a 5-kilometer run, but there's quite a bit of elevation change in it. So it's about 100 meters of elevation gain, I think.
Every time I see that, I said, wow, if that was in my backyard, it would be re-energizing. Lawyers Who Learn is about individual growth, legal tech entrepreneurs and their growth. So take me through, what is your mindset?
It's an interesting thing because every day Clio's the biggest company I've ever run. Today Clio is, we're going to end this year with 2,000 people in the company, over $300 million of ARR, worldwide footprint. And what makes it exciting and terrifying some days is the fact it's the largest company I've ever run. But one of the reasons I'm 17 years into this and still super energized and still having a lot of fun is it's a new job every quarter. It's a different set of challenges, a different set of opportunities. So I think to succeed at that, like number one, you've got to have a ton of humility. You got to be eager to learn and find all the ways you can learn. And you learn from mentors, you learn from coaches, you learn from, one of the things I've looked for in investors especially is, I don't care necessarily what you think you're bringing to the table as an investor, but who are the portfolio companies you have in your network, in your portfolio, that I look up to, that I think I can learn from. And getting connected with those CEOs has been a huge part of helping me navigate the next stage of growth.
Are there books that you're reading today that are helping you in scaling a unicorn plus company that you could share with people?
There's a couple books I've read in the last couple of years I'll reference. From a mindset perspective, a book that was really influential to me is The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. Love that book.
Never read that one.
So what he talks about in a nutshell is you have in the world a bunch of finite games like chess or checkers, and the way many people think about business is as a finite game where there's defined rules, there's defined winners and losers, and it's often zero sum. What he talks about is this idea of infinite games, which is games that do not have defined rules, games that do not have necessarily well-defined winners or losers, and games that can actually be positive sum. And I actually think of business that way. And the way to think about that is what we're building with Clio. Like, even what we announced yesterday in my keynote, we talked about creating an entirely new category of software. And we're not here to win practice management software, for example. We're creating a whole new category of software and a whole new horizon of opportunity that didn't exist 2 weeks ago. That is going to be this massive opportunity for us. Whereas I think many people would, the traditional view on business would be, here's a defined existing space like legal practice management. That was a really mind-bending book for me. I'd highly recommend that book because it helps you reframe how you're building your business.
You got one more book?
One more book I would mention is actually a classic, but High Output Management by Andy Grove.
Didn't read that.
Another great book, but just basically talks about basic management hygiene, and it's a really insightful book that is I think it's probably 20 or 30 years old, so a bit overlooked these days.
I think it was maybe 2016. When I saw you had Gary Vaynerchuk coming to speak at your conference, I said, this would be my dream conference. It's everything I think about entrepreneurship and legal tech combined. And I know that you thought that's what inspired you, and you kept doing that in a way.
Try to bring these people like Gary. This morning we had Esther Perel speak.
Yep.
We have people that, you're one of the few people that came to that ClioCon even knowing who Gary Vaynerchuk was. But then by the end of his talk, everybody in that room was like, fuck yeah, I need to do a better job of building my personal brand and being on social media, and he opened everyone's eyes. Esther Perel, I bet half the room didn't know who she was this morning, and she was just so profound in talking about relationships. Such a perfect complement to the AI narrative in the conference, because one of the big questions people have is, okay, when AI takes away all of this stuff from us, what's left? We got to be human. And I just think Esther did such a good job of honing in on what we need to specialize on as human beings.
One more question before we talk about this
Sure.
announcement. Where's your comfort zone? Because it doesn't seem like you have one.
I would say that I've been really lucky to have, number one, an incredibly supportive wife, Tanya, in building this whole thing. She's been an incredible partner. We've been married for 22 years, and she's just been a rock. And my kids, I talk about a lot. I had my first kid the same year I founded Cleo.
Yep.
We've now got 3. They're now all teenagers, which is crazy, 16, 15, and 13. When I'm home, I'm present. I make a point of being home for dinner and being connected with the kids, taking them on vacations, going camping with them, enjoying nature in Vancouver with them. It might sound like an indirect answer to your question, but I feel like I've got a pretty balanced life where I don't feel like I'm struggling with any particular area. This is, as it's a taxing, demanding job, and I think that's my source of renewal.
I saw the announcement. The biggest thing that I was impacted on, how you take the practice of law and the business of law and you combine them together.
Yeah.
I can imagine an attorney being very nervous about what they're seeing there. I can imagine the legal tech vendors being very nervous about what they're seeing there, because this, to me, is the first time I had a real understanding of what it looks like to get rid of the billable hour on a scale that I haven't seen before. I was curious what the reaction was afterwards.
Yeah,
if this
yeah.
is what you heard from anyone else as well.
Delivering that keynote was actually really interesting, because in this particular room, I was surrounded by 2,500 people. I could actually read the room really well. And what was a bit disconcerting was the room was actually really quiet.
I know. I was hear a pin drop.
You could hear a pin drop. And for a moment, I was halfway through my talk, and I was actually worried. I was like, have I lost the room here? So I went and I did a really deliberate check. I paused for a second, and everybody was looking right back at me. Like, people were dialed in and listening to every word, which was great. But there was almost a stunned silence in the room. And even for the moments that I thought might be like mic drop moments, it was quiet. And I talked to a few people after the keynote, and that was exactly what was going on for them. Basically, the universal feedback I heard was, number one, incredible, high impact, visionary, all of that. But I need a moment to process what I just heard. And even today, a day after the keynote, I hear people giving me that exact feedback, which is, that was fantastic, but I am still processing and unpacking what you talked about and what that means for me. And I'm excited about it, but there's a lot of ramification.
When you take 10 hours of work and do it in 45 minutes or less, that's one. Then two, everybody's thinking ahead because we know where you're thinking. At some point, the lawyer, like, do you need the lawyer for some things? Because if you're really talking about access to justice and bridging that gap, that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
People are a barrier to that. And that's just, there's no stopping it. That's where it's going. I see it.
And my view is that I think what we're going to have is more and more automation, and more of the routine work will happen. But I think we could actually look at LegalZoom as a proxy for this, where what LegalZoom has seen is a huge amount of demand for lawyers that comes through the automated forms they make available. And I think the more we can do that, the more we can make, hey, here's an easy start, and we can help you get started on a legal matter. And as that becomes more sophisticated, nuanced, and so on, we can elevate and escalate this to a lawyer that can help you out with that. That is where that's where we're going to get to this quadrupling of the legal market size over time. And I think lawyers just need to get away from this idea that I'm going to jealously guard this document that I used to produce, but instead I'm going to give it away for free. And when people need help or advice, that is the value add I'm going to be able to provide. So that's an exciting new world, I think, that we're going to be going through a very rapid evolution over the next few years, that I think the smart lawyers that embrace AI will realize I've got a massive competitive advantage, and ultimately I've actually got a much larger business opportunity ahead of me if I embrace these technologies.
And of course, it's every profession, every individual, every job.
Yes.
And you guys are at the cutting edge to do that. And I think your book recommendation from Simon Sinek is what everybody, it's a great example for all lawyers.
It's exactly the right book to be reading at this moment, which is
Well,
how does this transformation actually create opportunity for me?
And you are a giver. The
Thank
fact
you.
that you taking your time on your conference to speak with me.
Oh, so
I
great to
really appreciate
reconnect.
it. All right, so I'll see you on stage soon enough.
Sounds good.
All right, take care. Bye.